Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to English 3.1. Okay, sorry for being late today. I just got some stuff to sort out, and thank you for your patience. All right, give me 1 second. Let me just open my file. Right. Okay, okay, so where were we yesterday? Uh, right, okay. Sharing my screen. Okay, you guys should be able to see what I see, basically. Okay, so so yesterday we were brainstorming for this question right here. All right, so basically we are being asked to make a decision whether banning cigarette advertising will help to reduce the level of nicotine addiction among um, high school students or young people, so to speak. Okay. All right. And you guys were, I think it was, there were some opinions from you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if what his or her name is. Let me just go to my participant list, and I don't think he's here today, but that's fine. Okay. Anyway, thanks to his participation. All right, so we have some ideas for support. Okay. Now let's look at some ideas for objection. Okay, so I think now we have to assume the role of a dissenters. Okay. So we're going to look at all these questions, okay, and see if we can contribute. All right. Um, so let's have a look. In what ways is cigarette advertising not the major cause of nicotine addiction? Yes. Okay. Um, well, if you ask me, okay, if you ask me, then I would say I would I would then tell you to look at some countries where cigarette advertising is non-existent, like it has already been banned. I mean, you don't have to look far away. Thailand is a good example, right? Okay, so Thailand, I think the Thai government has already had the cigarette advertising ban in place for a very long time. Because I'm 38 years of age and I don't remember seeing one cigarette advertising, not one. Since the day I was born, I have not seen one cigarette advertisement. Okay, so that means the ban has been around for a very long time. Okay, but what I do see is young people smoking cigarettes. Right, I see that. Okay, it is not a very common sight. I mean, I don't see them in a shopping mall or whatever, but I can tell that they gather up and smoke, especially back in the day when there was a lot of internet cafeterias, right? You guys know what internet cafeterias means? It's basically a place where young people goes to play games, okay, on their desktop computer. All right. Back in the days, this was very common, right? It's everywhere, it's in every corner, right? But uh, ever since mobile games have gained popularity, the number of internet cafeterias has been declining to the point where it's almost disappear, wipe out. Okay. So, cigarette advertising ban has been around for a long time, but we still see, we do witness teenage smokers. So, what does that mean? That means cigarette advertising may not be the reason why they smoke. They probably don't even care about advertisement. So this is uh, this is something that has nothing to do with cigarette advertising, right? So I'm going to write down here that young young smokers can be found. Okay. In countries such as Thailand, where the ban is already in place, has been in place for a long time. Next, what are some of the other contributing factors of nicotine addiction? Okay, so if advertising is not the cause that contribute to nicotine addiction, what do you think could be the cause, right? What could contribute to nicotine addiction? Hmm. Right. So look around yourself. Maybe you can look at yourself. Suppose you have to imagine that you're a young person. Maybe, of course, you're already young, but might be a little bit younger, right? Okay, say it's 5 years ago. Okay. Um, if you were to want to smoke, what would be your reasons? Okay. Um, it could be because of your social environments, right? Social environment. Okay. So other people might exert negative influence on you. Okay. Could be your family members, could be your friend at school, social environment. Okay. Now, if you see examples uh, of smoking, now you want to, right? You have the drive. You want to smoke, but you will not be able to smoke it until you gain access to cigarettes, right? Okay. So in order to get cigarettes, you have to visit a shop to buy cigarettes. Okay. And if they have some sort of strict policy, okay, then it will be hard for you to obtain cigarettes. And for that matter, you will not be able to smoke and later become addicted to cigarettes. All right. But the fact that you uh, uh, get access to cigarettes is probably because there's no regulations. Okay. There's no something like age restriction. There's no um, the price of cigarettes might also be very low, all right, very affordable, okay, and the availability is almost always ready, okay. In other words, you can go and uh, buy cigarette anytime, okay. If you look at the sales of alcohol at some convenience stores like 7-Eleven, right? They will not sell alcohol to you before 5 p.m. Okay, so yeah, so that's some time restriction. Okay, so I say the next factor would be uh, lack of regulation. Okay, next. Okay, so you have lack of regulation, you have social environment, and okay, what else? I think that's it. Can't think of any more. So this might be the more uh, possible reasons why young people become addicted to cigarettes. Okay. Let's have a look at the next question. How is banning cigarette advertising not effective or efficient or viable or advantageous? Right. If you were able to answer the first question here, then we can confidently say that this suggestion will not be effective because we are dealing with something that does not exist in the first place, right? Okay, so this is easy. We can say if we provided we can answer the first question, right? If we can answer the first question, then we can say this solution is ineffective. This solution is ineffective since this solution is ineffective since um, cigarette advertising. Not the reason in the first place. What are some of the better solutions? Okay. The better solutions will have to be addressing what we believe to be the factors, right? Okay. So if we believe that social environment is a contributing factors, then one good solution would be to uh, you know, education might help. Okay. So parental guidance. Okay, parental guidance and school education. That help young people to realize the harm of cigarettes. Right. So that's one solution. What do you think should be the other solution? Well, it's quite straightforward, isn't it? Lack of regulation is the reason why, getting cigarettes is easy. So we want to make it difficult. So we can say governments, governments control on sales of cigarettes. Okay. One of our friends yesterday suggested we ban cigarettes entirely. There's nothing wrong with that idea, okay, except that um, we might want to just focus on the teenage groups, not adults, not those who are in working age. Okay, so those people still have rights to smoke. If we ban cigarettes entirely, then we are sort of violating their right to smoke. After all, cigarettes are not they're not illegal substance, still legals, right? But they're bad. We know that, right? Science have proved that smoking is really, really bad for your health. Okay, so we shouldn't, as a young generation, we should steer clear of cigarette. But for those who have who have already developed addiction and they choose to smoke for whatever reasons they have, they should still, you know, have their rights to smoke. All right. So we just want to focus on preventing younger generation, young people. All right. We don't really care about the old people who are already smokers. All right. Okay. So these are some of the ideas that we can use to fight or to argue against the given solution. Okay, so right now, what we can do is we can ask ourselves which side weigh more. Okay, if you imagine that having an argument is pretty much like being on a seesaw like that. Okay, imagine on a seesaw. Okay, here is the support side. Here's the objection. Okay, support and objection. Now, if support has more weight, okay, then the lever will tilt in favor of support. Support wins, right? If you think the your support ideas are stronger than your objection, then that means you believe that you can make your essay more persuasive if you choose to agree, right? However, if you believe that objection ideas are way, way stronger, okay? Way stronger, okay? Two boxes. Okay, so the liver will be in favor, it will tilt to the right in favor of objection, okay? And you better choose that position because you can make your article, your writing more persuasive that way, right? Okay, so it's really up to you. It's really up to you. But the way I see it, if you look at the number of questions that we can answer for support, there are only two questions, right? Only two. I mean, if you can ask the question in three, that's cool, but it might be not pertinent. Okay, because we are going beyond the scope of the questions. Because the goal here is to lower the level of nicotine addiction. It is not uh, to explore benefits of banning cigarette advertising. All right. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Now, what if you feel that hey, I know objection will have a lot more weight to it, but I still need more content. I don't think I can write 250 words with just this information. I need more. Okay. What if that is the case? What if you just need some more content? Anything at all. All right. The next thing you can do is you can build another plan to generate ideas. I mean, if you look at each one of this as a plan to generate ideas, we so far have had two plans, okay? And each of the questions in each plans uh, shows you the capacity, all right, of ideas generating. So the more questions we have, the greater the capacity. All right. So support plant, all right, it has less capacity than objection because for objection you have up to four, correct? Okay. Now, um, next we want to look at other areas of awareness. Okay. Okay. The first questions we might want to ask ourselves is what are some of the impacts? Okay, what are some of the impacts associated with nicotine addiction? Okay, what are some of the impacts associated with nicotine addiction? Right. Okay. So you might wonder, why do we have to answer this question? How relevant is it to our answer, whether we agree or disagree, right? Those who agree or disagree, they already share one thing in common. They don't like cigarette addiction. They want this to be gone, right? Okay. That's what both sides have in common. They want cigarette addiction to be gone, but they disagree on the ground of solution. What should be the best solution? That's what they are. That's where the conflict is, right? That's where disagreement exists. Okay, all right. So these ideas might be considered a little bit irrelevant, but it is still it can still help to raise the awareness for those who don't really care or don't really know about the problem. When you are writing an argument essay or whatever kind of writing, you have to assume that those who comes to find your writing might not know the question or or even the subject of the discussion. They might not know anything. For example, somebody who comes to read your essay might not be aware of secret addiction. They probably don't even know what it is. Okay? So you want to also capture their attention. You want those people to be your customers as well. All right, people who don't know about your products. All right, they don't even know about the existence of you. You want them to be your customers or to be your audience in this case as well. So how do you do that? And you have to make this important, right? You have to help them to realize how catastrophic it is, um, how catastrophic cigarette addiction is, and why we should stop it, right? Right? Why we should not continue any further. Okay. So, can you think of any impact associated with nicotine addiction? Obviously, um, nicotine addiction. Okay, nicotine addiction could lead to. Okay, nicotine addiction could lead to respiratory issues, for example, respiratory issues. So, like what? So, you guys know any respiratory diseases? Diseases where your breathing system is affected. Excuse me, I might have one already. Okay, so people who have been a long time smoker, they may develop certain disease like emphysema. You guys know what this is? Emphysema is a condition where your lungs cannot function very effectively, right? Emphysema. Um, Bronchitis. Okay, so that is the disease that affect your respiratory tract. Okay, bronchitis. And I think everyone already know this, lung cancer. Yeah. Okay, so these are respiratory issues. What else? Okay. Well, I think addiction could um hmm, cigarettes are quite expensive, aren't they? So, and they are not essential, right? They can be considered non-essential spending. Okay. So we could say that nicotine addiction would add to non-essential expenses. Okay, right. Yep, that's it. Okay, if you guys can think of more negative impacts associated with nicotine addiction, just build on this list. Okay. All right. Now, is there any um other plant we can add to this ideas generating plant? Of course. We will call this new plant clarification. Okay. So what is this all about? What does this plant do? Okay. Clarification is to make things clear, is to um, is to create mutual understanding between you as the writer and your audience. Okay. Once again, like I said, not everyone who comes to read your essay has background of this subject of your discussion. Okay. So when you are reading something that you have no background or you have no knowledge about, what happens is you have to assume or you have to make guess, right? And sometimes your guess is not correct. All right. Your writer means one thing, but the reader thinks is another thing. Okay. So confusions develop. Okay. If you suppose I am a technician and I'm writing something about the house structure, and you are just homeowners, you want to buy a house. Okay. When you are reading my technical document, you don't understand, so you have to make guess about okay, what is this? What does that mean? Okay, and sometimes your guess might be wrong. This is not what I mean. Okay, and in the end, you might not see things the way I see. You may agree or disagree with what I say, but it's not because you you see what I see. Okay, it's because you look at things the wrong way. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. Okay, but if you but before you make a decision, whether you agree or disagree, it's important that you perfectly understand what I say. Okay, if what I say is too technical, then you need some time to, build your background in order to understand the technical aspects of what I'm saying. Right. Okay, so clarification part is there to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So basically, we're going to be looking at all the variables that we have identified after we've read the question. So we have high level of nicotine addiction, cigarette advertising, banned cigarette advertising, lower level nicotine addiction. Are there any things here that you think someone may not know or may have different opinion from you? Let me tell you something. Back in the days, there was a news headline about a Japanese minister who claimed that he's seen UFO and he can prove that the UFO exists. Okay, and then some journalists they wrote an article about this, and this Japanese minister got quite a negative feedback. Right, some people say that he you know consider his position, consider his knowledge and his organization where he work. He should be more careful with what he says. He's not just nobody, right? He's politician. Okay, so his words, can make a difference in society. Okay, so they say he should be careful about what he say. Think twice, something like that. So the Japanese minister, in retaliation to the public outlash, he came out and say, "Wait a minute, look, my definition of UFO might be different from yours definition of UFO, and I'm not wrong because you didn't ask me first what I mean by UFO." So that's quite interesting. This minister said, according to him, he's using the literal meaning of UFO. And the literal meaning of UFO is unidentified flying object. So it's basically something that is floating in the air, up high, and you can't tell what it is. Or if you can't tell what it is, then that object is unidentified. Or you can't tell it it's a bird, a drone, an airplane, or insects. Okay. If you can't tell what it is, then it's unidentified according to you, right? Okay. So based on that definition, anything can become a UFO based on the knowledge of the beholder, right? If a beholder cannot tell what it is, he has right to call it UFO. Right. Okay. But according to the media and everyone else who read the news article, they use the figurative meaning of UFO, and the figurative meaning of UFO is unidentified flying object, right? It's unidentified flying object, and that means is the is sorry, it's not undefined. According to a mainstream media, UFO is just a flying saucer, or it's a spacecraft used by aliens. Okay, so that's what the public think. So the Japanese minister and the public, they don't share the same definition for UFO. The ministers say, well, UFO is exactly what is abbreviated from unidentified flying object. But the media think, oh, it's a flying saucer, is a alien spacecraft. All right. Okay. So for that matter, we now you see that it's important to make sure that everyone's on the same page before we get down into the argument. Okay. So for clarification, we can say that we can talk about what is nicotine addiction. All right. Okay. So let's write the question. What is nicotine addiction? We can make that question. Okay. Now, it's up to you how you want to look at it. Okay? It's up to you. I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just that you need to make it clear to other people that this is how I look at nicotine. This is what it means to me. Okay? All right, so when people read your work, they understand. They understand the definition of how you look at something, and they be able to judge from that point of view. Okay, so what do you think is nicotine addiction? Well, I'll just say, well, it is, I would say, um, cigarettes, contain many chemicals, one of which is nicotine. Cigarettes contains many chemicals, and one of which is nicotine. This substance causes addiction. Okay, so that would be my explanation for nicotine addiction. So now my reader should understand at least what is nicotine. Nicotine is not a product. I mean, you can't go and buy nicotines, right? But you can go buy cigarettes, and nicotine is in there already. All right. So I hope you guys and understand how to use listing as a technique to brainstorm. Okay, so let's recap. All right. We have different method to brainstorm. We have free writing, which is it's a time process. Time, T-I-M-E-D, time process, that is time. Okay, it's a time process. So you want to give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to write non-stop about anything that enters your mind. Okay, but the drawback of this technique is that it time consuming, takes a lot of time. Okay, and it's not recommended for a test. Okay, where time is of essence. Okay, the other technique is what I recommend, and that technique is to make a list like this. It's called listing. Okay, but the main thing is you need to be able to categorize list of your ideas. Okay, so according to what you see here, I put them into four categories: support, objection, awareness, and clarification. Okay, so these are four different groups of list of ideas. I sometimes call them ideas generating station or ideas generating plant. Okay, so you have rights to use any of this plant to generate ideas. Okay, and the more ideas you can generate, either from support or objection, okay, the more likely it is for you to agree or disagree. So if you have more ideas, more answer in the support section, then it is more likely that you agrees with the statement. But if you have more ideas in the objection, then it's more likely that you might disagree. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, as for awareness, okay, awareness is just a matter of um, how 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 you want people to take this thing seriously. Okay. So generally, we talk about the consequences of the problem if it's go unnoticed or if it's not resolved quickly. And clarification is to make sure that everyone have a mutual understanding about everything's in the argument. Okay, right, good. Okay, let's move on to the next techniques to generate ideas. Okay, and the next techniques to generate ideas is what we call WS. All right, five W's, not WS, five W's. Okay, so what is 5W? It's nothing other than, it's something that we have seen already. It's to form questions like this. Okay, so if you pay attention, you will see that I generate ideas by making questions. Okay, and I use my answer as ideas to create my content. Yep. All right. But this next method that I'm about to teach you is how you put the WH questions in the series so that the answer that come from each question can be connected together to form explanation. Okay? That's what I mean to teach you. All right. Now let's try to do one thing here. Okay. Suppose I give you a statement, right? And I say online learning allows people to study at their own pace. Online learning allows people to study at their own pace. Okay. Now, I like to give you sometimes to think about this. Okay? I like to give you some time to think about this. How you explain it. Okay? It could be one sentence, two sentences, that's okay. I just want you to try. How would you explain this to me or to anyone, right? To understand and to um, agree with you. Okay? I'll give you how about 4 minutes, okay? Or 5 minutes. 5 minutes good. Okay? Think about how you explain and send your answer to me. You can type in the chat window. Okay, just go to Zoom. Okay, and if you tap on chat right here, it's the fourth item from the left. Right, you can tap, and then you just send me a message. Okay, that would be cool. That would be very, very cool. Right, you can do that. All right, let's give it a try. 5 minutes. Trying to explain this to me. Online learning allows people to study at their own pace. Okay. You guys have anything for me? Any idea? Nope. All right. No worries. Okay. So, right. So how should we do this? How should we explain? Should we just go ahead and write anything that enters our mind? Well, I guess not. All right. The first questions you want, whenever you are trying to explain something, always look at the noun. Okay? Um, Always look at the noun in your statement. Okay? And ask yourself, is there any noun that I can give a personalized definition? Okay, now you will see that there are three nouns in my statement, but the only noun that I can give a personalized statement would be online learning. So I'm gonna have my first question here. What is online learning? Okay, what is online learning? Okay, and then I will have something like I could say it is a system. Is this I would say it is a new education system that relies on the internet. Okay, it is a new education system on the internet. Uh, for information transfer. For information transfer between learners and lecturers. Okay, so that's what it is. To study at their own pace. What is online learning? Okay, the next questions that could follow the what question is how or why. Okay. How or why? Depend which one sounds better, all right? How or why does online learning allow people to study at their own pace? Okay. How or why does online learning allow people to study at their own pace? Okay. And I would say, well, it's because um, online learning, I probably won't use that too many times. I will say because people can choose when, where, and how often they want to learn. Because people can choose when, where, and how often they want to learn. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically it. The next questions you can ask is, what is the benefit or drawback, okay, of the ability to study at uh, at someone's own pace? All right. What's the benefit or drawback of the ability to study at someone's own pace? Okay, you can either choose to talk about benefit or drawback. Okay, if you choose to talk about benefit, then it's it's basically cross-linking. It's talking about how the opportunity to study at somebody's own pace would lead to some other positive impact. Okay, it's okay. It's adds more to your content, but at the same time, it puts you under risk of cross-linking, which means you whatever you say is the benefit of studying at your own pace will become a claim that needs to be justified further, and you might be in a situation where you need to keep explaining something forever. It doesn't end. Okay, so that's something I might need to warn you about. But if you talk about benefit, I mean drawback, it doesn't necessarily have to be some bad thing. It can be a concern that you have to raise so that people are aware and think about how they could adjust themselves or how they can counteract the negative impact. It's because this is based on the fact that not everything is perfect. There's always side effect. Like exercise, everyone know exercise is good for health, but then you have to give a warning. But too much exercise can lead to physical injuries, something like that. Okay. So yeah, online learning allows people to study at their own pace. It's cool, right? It's quite convenient, but um, what should be a caveat for online learning? Maybe it might um, it could lead to isolation. Okay, it could lead to isolation. Okay, which can have emotional impact on learners. Okay, so let's try to put all of this together. Okay, so the answer to the what question could be considered a definition, right? And the answer to the how or why questions could be considered a reason. Okay, reason for doing something, a method of doing something, like how some things work. And this could be considered concern. Okay, so our explanation will consist of definition, method, and concern. Now let's put everything together. So we will have online learning allows students to study at their own pace. Right? Online learning allows students to study at their own pace. Since it is a new, I would say modern, since it is a modern system that relies on the internet. I probably won't do this. Why? Because I think the claim is already very long. Maybe I'll just need to put a full stop here so that people know that, okay, this is a topic sentence. This is the main claim. All right. All right. So to introduce the definition, I would use what should I use as a linking device? Well, in my opinion, it's not that. In my opinion, because it's a personalized definition, so it's essentially my opinion, right? In my opinion, online learning is a new education system that uses the internet. Okay, for information transfer between learners and educators. Information transfer between learners and educators. Okay. Okay, next I will have to talk about this piece of information. So I have to select a linking device. Let's use the internet information transfer between learners and educators. uh, That's internet for now. I don't think any this linking device is necessary. I'll just start a new sentence here. Let's see. Okay. I might just put with this method. Okay. Learners can overcome the conventional limitations of time and space. Okay. I think that sounds more formal than what I said previously. Okay. With this method, learners can overcome the educational limitations of time and space. So time means you don't have to attend the class at a particular time because it's not a live session. Okay, you don't have to be there on time. And space means you can learn anywhere. You can log into your account and watch the video in your bedroom, okay? At a restaurant, when you're on a trip somewhere, you can do that. On a bus, on an airplane, doesn't matter. Okay, but just in case someone don't quite understand what I'm saying here, I would then write another sentence just to, say the same thing but in different ways in hope that it might be easier to understand. So when I'm about to do this, if I'm going to say the same thing in different ways in hope that it will make it easier for people to understand, I will say, in other words, students can study uh, whenever, 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 and as often as they like. They can study whenever, and as often as they like. Okay, so that's it. Right. Um, Next, I need to add some concern to it, right? It's all glamorous, but you got to be careful. All right, not everything is perfect. Mm-hmm. So how would I add this here? Okay. So you see, once you answer all these questions, you have the content is right there. So the next challenge would be how you would put them together. Basically, you have to think about connecting device like this. Okay. In other words, students can study whenever they want. Okay. But this looks like it's a contrast, so I would put however, online learners uh, should uh, should should try to seek I don't know, human interaction and should go out and see people. Don't just lock yourself out in your bedroom. Online learners should try to seek human interaction so as to avoid um, negative emotional impact. Okay, sounds good. Right. Okay. So, so you guys should now understand different method to generate ideas. Okay, this part is quite crucial for almost every kind of writing. Okay, if you can't get through this, if you don't have ideas and you start writing, man, at some point you're going to get stuck. Okay, at some point you won't be able to continue. So it's best to generate ideas, as many ideas as possible before you start writing. Okay. All right. It has been more than an hour, I think, and I'm a little bit tired, and I want to give you guys a 10 minutes break. Okay. So we will see each other again at 4 o'clock. All right. Okay. All right. Let's give ourselves some break. 10 minutes. See you soon. All right. Okay. So I think we are clear here. Now, so that's it for this chapter. Let's go back to the pretest, okay, and try to answer this question. Okay, so the first question, planning can help you to write faster. You think that is true or that is not true? Answer is yes, it is true. Planning to can help you to write faster, okay? Just a little bit of a typo again. You to write faster. Writing is all about expressing your ideas, and the audience have to make effort to understand you. Okay. What do you think? No, it's not true. Okay. Writing is not all about expressing your ideas, and people have to try to understand you. Writing is about making things easier, as easy as possible for people to understand you. Okay. Number three, technical terms and jargon can be used with non-expert audience. Well, you can if you can't avoid them, okay? If you can try to avoid this, well, right? Why? Because it will intimidate your audience, okay? And it might lead to confusion. Just because you use the right terms, it doesn't mean you are always departing the right information. You have to consider the your audience as well, right? Next, knowing your audience allows you to get a better feedback. What do you think? Knowing your audience allows you to get a better feedback? Well, that is actually true. All right. The better you know them, the better your feedbacks become. Number five, when answering questions, you need to pay attention to direction words. Yes, of course, you have to pay attention to direction words. Number six, direction words allows you to stay on point. Yes, of course. Um, Free writing doesn't need to be time. Actually, no. It has to be time, okay? Timing is important, okay? Timing will help you to generate ideas. Eight, you have to constantly check your ideas when doing free writing. What do you think? Check your ideas when you're doing free writing? No. False. สวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับจากไหนครับจากที่ไหนนะครับครับผมครับอ่าอะไรอีกทีนะฮะพูดดังนิดนึงครับฮัลโหลโอเคมาต่อครับ You have to constantly check your ideas when doing free writing. No. Okay. When you doing free writing, you don't have to constantly check your ideas. Okay, just let it flow naturally. Number nine, asking yourself questions will help you to better anticipate your audience. Is that true? Yes. Okay. True. In fact, when you're explaining something, all right, you want to ask yourself a number of questions. And when you do that, you have to imagine that you were a reader of your own work. Okay? If you were a reader, what would you want to know? Like when I say online learning allows people to study at their own pace. Okay? When I write this as a writer, I know I want to write what I know. But as a reader, they might have questions that is beyond what the writer was thinking to write. Okay. So you have to, keep switching roles. Okay. When you're about to explain something, switch your role to a reader. Okay. And as the reader, what kind of questions would you want to raise? Okay. Yes, so that is true. The last one, planning is only a classroom practice. Actually, this is false. Okay. Planning is not only a classroom practice, right? It's an everyday practice. All right, so that's it for chapter one. Okay. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Right. Moving on to chapter two. Okay. So chapter two will be about paragraph writing. Okay, so previously we only talked about planning, okay, how to read your understanding your audience, understanding your topic, understanding the direction works, and know how to generate ideas. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper, okay? We're going to be looking at paragraph writing. So first and foremost, let's try to answer all these questions by yourself. This is just a paraphrase of the topic. Is that true or not? Okay. Number two, it's important to narrow down the focus topic. You think it's important to narrow down focus topic? If you think so, just circle true. If not, circle false. Number three, you can ask questions out of your focus topic to form a thesis. Number four, the thesis is your, I think that's a typo here again, is your answer to the question. Number five, you can use phrases in your thesis. Phrase possible in your thesis. A phrase is the opposite of a complete grammatical sentence. Number six, an outlining will prevent you from going off topic. Right. Number seven, you need formal outlining for every kind of writing. Yeah, I think that's the case. You always need formal outlining. And last one, a good thesis should not be too broad or too narrow or unreasonable or underdeveloped. Okay, now let's turn the page. Developing a thesis. Okay, so after brainstorming, you know how to generate some ideas. Okay, and okay, once you have all those ideas, next step is to put those ideas together to form a paragraph, to form an essay. The most important sentence, one of the first sentences that you want to put it down on your paper is known as the thesis. Okay, this is can go by different names such as main idea or main opinion or review. Okay, so what exactly is a thesis? Okay, all right. So a thesis or a main idea is just a claim. It's the main claim of your essay. It's what you want your audience to accept, what you want them to believe. That's basically it. That's the main idea. Okay, right. But before we talk about how to write a thesis, first we need to talk about topic. So what exactly is a topic? Now, topic is, as regarding writing, there are millions of topics you can write about. Okay, you can, yeah, your topic could be about history, could be about science, okay, could be about engineering. Those are topics. Okay, if you have freedom of choices, you want to say if you wake up one day in the morning and you want to write something, maybe an articles, a blog. Okay, you need to choose a topic, and the topic that you choose must have this following criteria. First, it has to be interesting to you and to your audience. Second, it has to fulfill a writing assignment. Number three, it has to be sufficiently focused. Number four, it has to be able to be turned into a question. Okay, now I want to focus on the first three things here. I think these are quite important. Now, at this level, you might not be given an opportunity to choose whatever topic you want. All right. Most of the time, you'll be doing an assignment, so you have to answer specific questions. You have no choice, you have no freedom. But at a higher level, when you have to write a dissertation, which is a very long document, very long piece of writing, okay? Um, that has the purpose of pushing the boundaries of knowledge. Okay, in th- that is when you have to choose a topic. Okay, so for those who are doing a bachelor, a bachelor degree student, okay, their final project is to is to is to do a dissertation. Now, if you're lucky, you might be given topics. But I was doing mine diploma in electrical engineering. Okay, it's what's diploma? Diploma is 1 degree below bachelor. Okay, all right. But we do have senior project to do, so this is similar to dissertation. So we were lucky because we were actually given topics. Some example of those topics are, using PLC to develop an automated system that can be used in household. Okay, um, a lot of stuff, but I like to come up with my own ideas. Okay, so the topic that I chose was regarding renewable energy. And my title was the use uh, uh, of metabolic energy to generate power that could be stored in energy storage, which can be used during electrical emergency. Yeah, that's my topic, right? Okay, so why did I choose this topic? First of all, let me explain to you what that whole thing means. Okay, so metabolic energy is energy that comes from come from metabolism. So food is whatever you eat, all right? The food that you eat, it has chemical energy in it. Okay, and our body is so amazing that it can convert the chemical energy stored in the food into mechanical energy that allow us to walk, to talk, to run, to do many amazing things. Okay. Um, Now, some people go to the gym, right? And why do you go to the gym? Because you want to be in shape. So basically, you go there to waste your energy. I'm saying wasting energy because you are not converting that energy into any other useful form of energy. What a useful form of energy? Well, Mechanical energy, definitely useful. Heat is useful if you use heat to apply to something like cooking food or keeping people warm. Okay, but when you go to the gym, you are wasting your energy in the form of heat. So basically, you convert chemical energy, okay, through mechanical and then through heat. Okay, your goal is to lose some calorie, to lose some fat, to gain to be in shape. But looking at it from energy um, conservation perspective, this is just wasting good energy. Okay, so I wanted to harness that energy that is being wasted in the gym. Okay, now if you watch some documentaries about how we could cycle to produce electricity, okay, um, and then you would see that this practice is almost impossible because one person can, one very strong cyclist, right, will might not be able to generate enough power, right, to power one electrical appliance, maybe a light. They say that it would require hundreds of thousands of world-class cyclists just to power one house. I agree. I totally agree. Right. But what if we are not doing that real time? What if we are not trying to power somebody's house by having someone to cycle to produce power, kind of like a rap rat? Okay. But what if every time we go to gym, there is some sort of system that store that energy and keep it, you know, not using it right away, but keep it in the form of a battery. Okay. And then whenever we need the power, in the case of emergency, we can quickly extract power from the energy storage. Wouldn't that be nice? Right? Okay. That would be a nice idea, isn't it? If you can just extract energy from, you know, um, energy storage. Okay. So that's basically what this is what my topic was about. So why did I choose this topic? Because it's interesting to me. When it is interesting to me, then then I would feel motivated to go and explore informations. It would feel motivated to go above and beyond, to do more than what I'm asked to do. But my other friends, they chose given topics. Some topics are not even interesting to them, but they have no choice. They can't come up with their own ideas, so they have to do. They have to write a report, a senior project report on topics that did not interest them, and they didn't do a very good job because they're just trying to meet the bare minimum. Okay, and bare minimum, it's not glamorous. It's not putting you in a hall of fame. Okay, unlike me, I chose topic that interests me, so I'm able to go above and beyond. Okay, when I'm interested, I can write paragraph that is interesting. Okay, because it's interesting to me, I can produce a work that is also interesting to other as well. But if it's boring to you, then the work that comes from you will be boring to other audience. You see what I mean? Okay. So I think that is very important. And whenever you get to do dissertation, try to choose your own topic. You have to be passionate about what you choose. Otherwise, you will end up asking your friends to help, ChatGPT to help, because you don't have the motivation to do it yourself because you don't like the topic in the first place. Okay? Right. But the second thing is also very important. It has to fulfill the writing assignment. Okay? Right. Yes, it's interesting to you, but if it's not what the examiner want to taste you, then you might have the best articles in the world, but you will fail your test. Okay? Right. So you have to strike a balance between fulfilling your assignments and being interesting enough to you. It has to strike the balance. Okay? Be sufficiently focused. Right. Um, if I were to choose a topic, renewable energy. If on my title say my senior project is about renewable energy, then people will be like, well, what kind of renewable energy are you doing? Because there are so many different kinds of renewable energy. We have solar panel, we have wind turbine, we have geothermal, we have hydropower, um, we have metabolic energy. So many kinds. What am I talking about? Right? And I can't be talking about everything because it's just impossible. Even if it is possible, my report would be super long to the point where no one want to bother reading. So it has to be more focused, as focused as possible. All right. A sufficiently focused topics actually helps you to draw a boundary. Okay. So you sort of know the area that you need to paint. Okay. So those three things are quite important when it comes to choosing a topic. Now let's have a look at an example. Okay. Write a statement for your generation. So you'll be lucky if you get assignment like this. Write a statement for your generation. So statement here means an article. For your generation means for any major events that happen during your lifetime. So anything, any major event. If you were born in the 20th century, this should be easy for you because many turning event has happened in our history. All right. In the 20th century, um, one major world event was the First World War. I think that took place in 1914. And then the Second World War took place in 1939, if I'm not mistaken. All right. And after Second World War, we have Cold War. Okay. And the end of the Cold War, we have a collapse of the Soviet Union. Mm-hmm. So many interesting things. The invention of the first computer, right, was during that era. The invention of aeroplane was during this era. The invention of so many things, microwave, almost every electrical appliance that we are using today were introduced in that era. The 20th century is a golden age, right? I was so blessed to be born in the 20th century, even in the later decades. I was born in 1987, so I'm towards the last decade of the 20th century. I do miss the good old times, good old days. Okay, so suppose my selected topic is globalization, which is one of the major phenomenon during the 20th century, right? Globalization. So I'm going to write about globalization, but wait a minute. What exactly is globalization? It's huge. This is very broad, right? So you want to make it more what? Sufficiently focused. How do you do that? We'll just add more complement to it. Globalization in Thailand, for example, the impact of globalization on Thailand. Okay, you just keep adding more words to it, just make it more specific. All right. When you start with globalization, there's a lot of questions. Hey, globalization, what is it? Uh, uh, who uh, who will receive the impact? So on. Or you can't be writing for every country in the world, right? So you want to narrow it down to globalizations in Thailand. But then there is a question, who is making impact to whom? Is it the globalization that receives the impact, or is the country Thailand that receives the impact, right? Okay, so the third version, make it more clear. Impact of globalization on Thailand. Now it's clear who's making the impact, who's receiving the impact. All right, okay. But then another question could be raised. What kind of impact are we talking about? Are we talking about scientific impact? Does globalization make, Thailand more advanced? Okay. What kind of impact? Cultural impact, economic impact, social impact, what kind of impact? So we have to be a little bit more specific about the impact that we are talking about. So we narrow it down to economic and cultural impact. So that is the topic. Now, topic could be considered a title when you are writing uh, a dissertation or an essay. Okay, it can be considered a title, and it's usually in the phrase format. It's not in a sentence. It's just a bunch of nouns being connected by preposition and some adjective. Okay, so phrase. So that's topic. Topic is written in the phrase form, not in a sentence. Okay. Now, the next thing, once you have your topic, right? Once you already have your topic, next is to turn that topic into a thesis. Now, unlike topic, thesis has to be written in sentence. It has to be written in sentence format. So how do we make a thesis out of a topic? Well, we can ask this question. All right, basically turn a topic into a question. What are the impacts of globalizations on Thailand's economy? Okay. What are the impacts of globalizations on Thailand's economy? Now, the answer to that question could be something like, while globalization creates more job opportunity, it could lead to the total loss of cultural identity. Okay, right. So these statements makes it very clear that um, globalization can have positive impact, and that's regarding economic impact, right? When we look at it from the economic perspective, globalization has a positive impact. But when we look at it from the cultural perspective, globalization does have a negative impact. Okay? Right. When assignment asks questions, okay, let's have a look. Television is a powerful medium. What do you think is the ideal place of television in our life and why? Explain how close is the reality to that ideal. Okay. Now, if your assignment is specific like this, then it should be easy for you to develop your thesis because the answer to each of these questions will form your thesis. Okay? But you have to be careful. Answer and explanations are two different things. When you answer the questions, you don't have to explain it. Okay? So your thesis can just consist of answer to each of those questions, and your answer has to be linked together. Okay, right. So just remember, all right, when you write a thesis, that your thesis is basically answer to the questions. Your thesis should not contain any explanation. Okay? It's kind of like if you ask me, hey, Nat, do you want to come with me for dinner? Okay, I can say, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Okay? If I say no, I won't, you probably want to know why. But that is a discussion for next time, right? Okay. For now, the main idea is just answer. Okay. So when I say no, I don't want to go with you, that's the main idea. Okay. You're not. I'm not giving you my explanation just yet because we are not in body paragraph. Okay. Right. So let's just read this paragraph real quick. I think the ideal place of television is that it should be for information and entertainment, but that it shouldn't be watched too much. The reality is far from the ideal because too many people spend too much time watching television to the point that they don't communicate with each other or do things that they should be doing to be physically and emotionally healthy. Okay? Right. Okay. So basically, this is the answer to the questions, right? But it's a little bit long because um, this particular assignment just has way too many questions. Okay. Now, let's let's do this for yourself. Okay. Here's an assignment. Okay. Um, so our goal is to write one thesis statement. You don't have to write a whole, assignment for this. It's just the main idea or the thesis statement. Okay. So let's read the assignment. Say, identify a factor that you believe will have an impact on tourism development. Explain how that factors may influence the growth of tourist number. Okay. So it's quite clear what you have to do. All you have to do is just to write one thesis statement to answer this to meet the demand of the instruction. Mhm. So why don't you take 5 minutes to try to think about it? You can follow the steps, okay? Starting with a broad topic, okay? So they ask you to identify a factor. So what is the factor? Your factor is the broad topic. And then every stage, okay, you just keep adding more words to that factor of yours, okay, to the point when you turn it into question. So once you turn it into question, this is no longer a phrase, all right? It's a question. Now, and once you answer that question, you have a tentative thesis, and this right here has to be in the sentence format. Everything else could be in phrase format. Okay? Let's give yourself 5 minutes. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think should be a broad topic here? Right. Well, it really depends. Let me just first check to see if you guys have any suggestion. Okay, no, no worries. Uh, okay. So the broad topic could be whatever. What do you think could have an impact on tourism development? How about customer service? All right. Customer service. So I think customer service is a factor that can have an impact on tourism development. Let's narrow it down a little bit further. Okay. So I might say uh, customer, mm, I might say a an impressive. How about that? Okay. Maybe an above average. Okay. And above above average and above average customer service. Further narrow topic, I would say and above a customer, so a customer service that goes beyond a customer service that goes beyond maybe that exceeds that exceeds customers' expectation. Okay, so a customer service that exceeds customers' expectation. Okay, the word customer is being repeated twice, but that's okay. Okay. Right. I think this is sufficiently narrowed enough. Then I would then turn that into a question. I would say a customer. I mean, how could a customer service that exceeds expectation? How could a customer service that exceeds expectation have an impact? It means promote more
people to come and visit my country. Okay, so how could a customer service that exceeds expectation promote more people to come and visit my country? Okay, so a tentative thesis here could be to answer these questions, right? I would say a customer service that exceeds expectation. Okay. Will it's exceeds expectation will produce positive word of mouth, which attract, which retain all visitor, and also attract new ones. Okay, so that would be my thesis. All right. So it answered the question because I have the factors and is sufficiently narrow enough because it's quite clear. A customer service that exceeds expectation. I'm not just talking about any customer service. I'm talking about a customer service that exceeds expectation. So that means the service providers know what the customer needs, okay? And they were able to give them more than what they need, okay? So this kind of customer service, right, will produce positive word of mouth, which keep the old visitors, keep them from churning, all right, from visiting other countries, okay, and also attract new visitors. All right, so that's how you write a tentative thesis, okay? Right. So that's it. Next, let's look at outlining. Okay, so what is outlining? So outlining here is basically a blueprint of your essay. Okay. When you're developing an essay, your main idea is your claim. Okay, and everything else is your support. Okay, so for example, if I say, um, my my father is a very smart person, or say my dad is a smart person. Will you believe me? Of course you won't, because there's no evidence, there's no explanation, nothing, right? So I have to give you reasons to believe that my dad is smart. So what I say, he won a scholarship, okay, to study at MIT. He won a scholarship to study at MIT. So what is this? This is a reason, okay? But does everyone know what MIT means? Okay. And at what age did he get the scholarship? Did he have to take any exam, or was it handed down to him without any effort? Studied at MIT, but did he graduate? Did he pass or did he fail? Right? There's so many questions. So these requires further explanation. Okay? So my dad is a smart person is the main idea. Major supporting idea is he is a scholarship. He won a scholarship to study at MIT. Okay. And then I need to give you more information to answer all those questions. What is MIT? Um, how did he win the scholarship? And whether he graduate? Did he fail? Okay. So all those makes up minor supporting idea. Okay. So minor supporting idea could be, well, MIT stands for Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay, MIT stands for Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And okay, which is one of the world's most recognized university of engineering. MIT stands for Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is one of the world's most recognized university of engineering. Okay, so I explained that. Okay, so that becomes my minor support. What else I think my readers should know? He uh he took scholarship exam and he was the only one who passed. Okay, now the second thing that I think my readers should know, and he won't be smart if he fail, right? If he never graduates. So I have to say that he, yeah, after 3 years, okay, he complete his degree, right? So he actually did graduate. So all of these are minor supporting idea for one major idea, which is the fact that he won a scholarship to study at MIT. But if I think, okay, this one major supporting idea alone is not good enough, then I need to add more major supporting idea. So what else do I think people need to know before they can believe that my father is smart? So maybe I should talk about, how he became a lecturer at a major university in Thailand, for example. None of it is true, of course, right? I'm just giving you an example. Okay? Right. Okay, but what you guys have to do, okay, is to make your own outline, okay, for this question that we did earlier, all right, about nicotine addiction. So, so what you need to have in your outline, of course, the most important statement is your thesis. Okay, so what would be your answer to the question. Next, how many major supporting ideas will you have? Major supporting ideas. Okay, you can list, if you have 3 major supporting idea, you can say your first major supporting idea. And then you make an indent and just write support. Basically explain that idea. If you have more than 1 major supporting idea, then next would be your second major supporting idea. Okay? Which I don't know what it is. Okay? And then support. If you have 3, then you have third major supporting idea and support. Okay, just like this. So that's one way to outline, okay? That's one way. Okay, so an outline must have thesis, major supporting idea, and their support. Okay? I'll give you what, 5 minutes to come up with your own outline, okay? You can use information from our brainstorming session here. All right? Okay. Yeah. Try to come up with your own outline. All right. Okay. Well, let's see. You guys have any idea? Let me have a look. Nope. Nothing. Okay. So, how would you answer these questions? Let's have a look at the question one more time. Okay. So the question is, do you agree whether all cigarette advertising should be banned to lower the level of addiction? I just, you know, summarize it. Okay. Don't want to read the whole thing. So, you have two options, right? You think it's a good idea or think it's a bad idea? Suppose you think it's a bad idea, and the reason why you think it's a bad idea is because you have a lot more stuff to say if you disagree. Okay? So you go ahead and say, um, um, okay, but of course you can't say I disagree, all right? It has to be a statement that suggests, that indicates your position. So your thesis could be some things like, do banning cigarette advertising may not be enough. Banning cigarette advertising may not be enough to stop young people from addiction to nicotine. Okay. Now, what should be one major supporting idea? So, a major supporting idea here could be, um, well, let's have a look. Okay. I could say addiction, addiction to nicotine could stem from many other factors, right? Because when I was brainstorming, when I was trying to answer the second questions, I came up with some other factors. Right. Addiction to nicotine could stem from other factors. And my support would be my list of factors: social environment, okay, and lack of regulation. What about second major supporting idea? Well, maybe I should talk about why banning is not effective. So I can say banning cigarette ads may be ineffective. And for support, I could say it does not address every other factors, right? It does not address the other factors. And what should be my third major supporting idea. Maybe I should talk about a solution that I came up with, right? Like what? Um, you know, parental guidance, right? And government's regulation. So third major supporting idea, I might say, to address the issue, we need collaboration from schools and the government. Okay, we need collaboration from the schools and the government. Okay, now as for the support, um, I could say parental guidance on friends and government uh, government's regulation on cigarette sales, such as age restriction. Okay, so that's it. All right, this is an outline. Done. Okay, so you need to have something like this before you start writing. Just make a list of things you want to say. The only thing that is missing, the only thing that make this an incomplete essay is just some connecting devices, okay, and maybe some other extra details. Otherwise, this is almost an essay. Okay, so that's just one possible way to outline. Okay, well, next time we will be looking at other different formats of outlining. Okay, you're gonna be looking at other questions and we're gonna practice brainstorming and outlining. Okay, so I think it is enough for today. Unless you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to sit here and answer your questions until 5:30. Okay, if you do have any questions or anything you want to talk to me. Okay. But if you don't have any questions, feel free to leave the session and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.